Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats. It'll make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. My mug today is a new one, and although we are far from the Halloween season, I saw this at Goodwill the other day and just had to pick it up. It's a very fun little mug. My shirt is one that you've seen many times before. It's one of my Jimi Hendrix shirts. And the title the title was unfortunately very correct. This is in fact my November wrap-up. Obviously there was that time period where, I went to live on another dimension for a while, and it was difficult, mostly because I missed you guys. So I'm trying to play catch up ever since then. So I'm going to start right back at the beginning where I left off with the November wrap up, and move on from there. Of course, we're halfway into March at this point, so I definitely have a lot of catching up to do. But I kind of asked you folks, you said you'd be interested in it, so for those that still want to see how my reading went then, this is your chance to find out. Havoc, of course, is here with me, so pardon me if at any point you hear some noise from him. My wife is also in the back on the treadmill, so you may hear a bit of that as well. So, for November, I read 20 books. And it was a pretty awesome month. It was a really awesome month. It may have been one of my best months last year, as far as the number of 4- and 5-star reads as opposed to everything else. It had some of my favorite books of the year. November was a stellar month for me in regards to reading, which is part of the reason I want to share it too, because I feel like I missed out on an opportunity to tell you guys about some awesome books. So I'm going to go on and get into it. Havoc here is very excited as well. He is probably getting cat hair all on my coffee, so let's go on and get to work on this, okay? The very first book that I finished in November, this was an audiobook, one that I will definitely be picking up a physical copy of and listening to the audiobook again because it was so much fun. This is Nevis by Sasha Naspini, and this is one that I have no idea why I picked it up, other than we were going through Barnes and Noble one day, and and for some reason the cover caught my eye. But this is about a woman whose husband dies. On the same day he dies, one of her pigs die, and she realizes that after years and years and years being married to this man, she is more upset about the loss of the pig than she is about the loss of the husband. And so in a moment of sort of strange grief, she brings one of her sick chickens inside to kind of nurse it back to health, and starts talking to it, and this chicken becomes her whole world. And one day they're watching TV, and the chicken kind of freezes up when a certain commercial comes on, and it's like the chicken is hypnotized or something. It won't do anything, it won't react. She'll sit and poke at it, it does nothing, it won't blink, it's frozen. And this is really a turning point for her. She ends up reaching out to the town veterinarian to try and figure out what's going on with this chicken. And that really leads you into the meat of the story. Now, this is a very quick little novel, but it's just so much fun. It packs a significant punch, and there's a lot more to it than just this quirky story about a woman and her chicken. And you slowly learn this through the conversations between Nevis and her friends, if you can really call them friends. And this one just totally took me by surprise. I immediately knew that it was going to be on my best of the year list, and it absolutely is. You're going to see that on there soon. First physical book was Jay Davis and Don Davis with Bring On the Night, with this awesome step back cover. And this is about, it's told mainly from the point of view of a detective who is trying to catch a serial killer in the city. Now, this serial killer is seems to be targeting random people, killing them, cutting their heads off, and cutting religious symbols into them. You are also told the story from the point of view of the serial killer, who is under the belief that he is a vampire slayer and that these people here he is killing are vampires. And then you are told the point of view from another killer that you slowly learn about as the story goes on. So this book really doesn't reinvent the wheel on vampires whatsoever. It was just a blast to read. And there are some slight issues, some sticking points, if you will, where the book didn't quite do it for me. But overall, this was just a quick, fun read. If you're looking for, an enjoyable sort of cat and mouse vampire story, this is an excellent one. Now, I am very slowly apparently, making my way through Lloyd Alexander's Chronicles of Pride series. So in November, I read book 3, The Castle of Lear, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it other than to say that this is my least favorite in the series so far. This one basically kind of seems to strip down all of the characterization that Lloyd Alexander has put into the princess at this point, who is made out to be a sassy, spectacular, strong princess. And this kind of strips her of all that, and it really seemed unnecessary. It was still well written. It's just, in comparison to the other books, not all that enjoyable. So I'm hoping that the other books in the series get better. I really need to pick them up before I forget what happens, so I may try and do that here soon, but definitely not the best from him. I'm hoping that we're on the up from this point forward. First ebook of the month was Left to You by Daniel Volpe. Now, a lot of people know his name because of the book Talia. I wanted to start with something different. I wanted to start with something that seemed to be on the more serious side, because he is more on the slashy, gory side. So this is about a man. There's something awful going on in his life. He is about to lose someone very important to him, and this old man, who is a customer at the store he works at, tells him, well, there is a way that you can fix things, but you're not going to like it. And the old man proceeds to tell him the story of exactly what he means. It's almost kind of split into two. You start the story with this young man, this young grocery store clerk, and you end the story with him. But in between, the real meat of the story is this old man's tale of his time in a concentration camp. And that part of the story was awesome. The part of the story involving the concentration camp, that was probably a good 4.5 stars. The rest of the story was easily dropped down to a 2.5 star for me. Very weak in my opinion as opposed to the rest. So at the end of the day, I gave this one a 3.5 stars. First DNF of November was Kurt Anderson with Devourer. And with an awesome cover like this, you would think I would really dig this book. But there was just so much boring ship talk rather than monster action, and I got bored with it. And like I said, there's no reason with a cover like this that I should get bored so quickly, but I did within the first 60 or 70 pages. I was like, you know what, I'm not going on 400 pages with this. If it's this boring already, there's no excuse for that. So that was DNF, and an unhauled book Next, I had a 4-star with Larry Niven's All Myriad Ways. And this is a collection of short fiction as well as some non-fiction essays from Mr. Larry Niven. And this was one of those rare ones where the stories were okay, but I actually enjoyed the essays more than I did the stories. So I gave this one 4 stars at the end of the day. There's an extremely enjoyable section where he breaks down exactly why Superman cannot have sex. And the science behind each portion is just hilarious. That alone, it was worth the price of picking up this book. The essays in this one are just awesome. The science involved in them really had me racking my brain to try and keep up, and I kind of dug it. Next audiobook was Richard Lehman's The Woods Are Dark. This was a 3-star. Most Lehman books are 3 stars, honestly. If you know Lehman, then you know exactly what you're getting here. You're getting a lot of gratuitous sex and nudity. You're getting a lot of gratuitous violence. Excuse me, I believe my cat is ready to leave the room. And yeah, nothing different here at all. If you're a Lehman fan, if you enjoy the ridiculousness of his horror, then The Woods Are Dark. Completely within the realm of everything else he writes. It was 3 stars. The audiobook narration was not great, but I feel like it was at least on par with the book itself. So there you go. Now another surprise was Fred Saberhagen's The Water of Thought. And this is about humans basically wanting to invade this little planet and steal this substance that they call the Water of Thought that expands the mind and gives people superpowers, essentially, to keep things simple. And what was interesting about this book is, one, it is illustrated throughout, which was a big surprise. And 2, it was just a really enjoyable, less on the science side, more on the action-y, adventure side kind of book. And I didn't expect much from it, but I had a blast with this book. It was 4.5 stars because the portrayal of the female characters is not great in this one, so that dropped it down a 0.5 star. But other than that, this was a blast. Highly recommend picking it up. Now another book that is going to make it onto the list of my best of 2022 is Wallace Henry with South Georgia Massacre. So I'm not going to talk about it here. I will talk about it more there, but for horror fans, this is an awesome book, and I highly, highly recommend that you pick it up. It is, again, just so much fun. Takes some twists and turns that you don't expect. And totally took me by surprise in regards to how much I enjoyed it. 5 stars all the way. You'll hear about it more in a later video. Next audiobook was Samantha Allen with Patricia Wants to Cuddle. And this is an odd duck of a book. And this is about a group of women, all celebrities, if you will, in their own right. Mostly social media celebrities, who are cast for a show sort of like The Bachelor. And the final takes place on this sort of mysterious island where a long time ago some hikers went missing, and so there's sort of this urban legend about a creature that lives there, and most of the story has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with the bickering and banter between this cast of characters. And this, I don't know how to rate this book. On the one hand, the cover and the title kind of give away the big twist of the book. But on the other, it was oddly enjoyable. It made me laugh, and it was just very unexpected. Certain sections of the book, man, it could be a solid 2 stars. others 5. So I think eventually maybe I marked this as a 4-star on Goodreads. I don't remember now, but for the most part, I ended this book amused but confused. One that is not confusing at all is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is a 4.5-star read for me, and I'm not going to talk about the book itself. I think most of us know the story of the book Frankenstein. Instead, I will pose a question. Are you on the side of the monster, or are you on the side of Victor Frankenstein? For me, I am totally on the side of Dr. Frankenstein. I don't think he deserved anything that happened to him, really. Yeah, he was a bit of a coward, perhaps, at times, but this monster just totally takes things out of proportion, you know. It's like, oh, you stubbed my toes, so I'm going to stab you. It's the retribution against Victor Frankenstein is so far above anything that happens to the monster. I mean, it's not cool, man. But you let me know below whose side you're on. But I'm totally with my buddy Vic on this one. So let me know what you think. All right, halfway in, we have our first bit of poetry. This is a collection titled Verses That Hurt. Now, this has one of my favorite poets in it, Miss Nicole Blackman. So I was very excited about that. It also has one of my least favorite poets in it. So you know, but 4 stars on this one. It was a pretty good poetry collection. The title and cover kind of tell you all you need to know in regards to what to expect from this one. The cool thing about this is actually the story behind it, the story about how these poets all got together and how this came about. But that is sort of a story for another time. If you're interested, let me know. I'll tell you more about it below. But 4 stars for this one. Really fun collection. Some duds, but overall, very well done. Another 4.5 star and another surprise was Betty Wren Wright with the Dollhouse Murders. And I picked up a bunch of this lady's books through a lot on eBay a while back, so I have at least a few more there. I think this is the second that I've read from her. And this one I was hoping would kind of scratch the itch. I have really desperately wanted to read Tabitha King's Small World for a long time, and I've just never picked up a copy. This one had a cover that kind of seemed like it would be within that realm, you know, about like people being turned into dolls, if you will. So I was hoping that was the case here. This one, though, I said this one surprised me in that it tackles some very adult themes in a children's book with a very deft hand. Very well done. And it keeps the creepiness and the mystery factor up throughout. And this was a lot of fun. This was a really great one. I don't know why I haven't heard more about this lady, you know, from the community. That we've got a lot of people on here that are really big into, you know, Goosebumps and that sort of theme. So I don't know why I haven't heard more about this lady from them, but I'm really looking forward to reading more of her stuff. I've been very surprised so far, and this one is an awesome one. This is 4.5 stars. Again, highly recommended if you're looking for something for a younger audience. Next audiobook was D.B. Wolf with Midnight Rider, with this awesome cover here. And this, man, this is so much fun. So much fun. It's an absolute blast for any horror fan out there. I just finished the second, actually, in the series. It's a whole series, something like 7 or 8 books, I think. Just finished the second one. Can't wait to get into the third. This one is a blast. The covers are awesome. I will be collecting each of these in physical form as well, because this is a series I know I'm going to love every minute of. This is about a girl that kind of accidentally, without realizing what she's doing, she makes a deal with a demon, and that basically puts the lives of everybody in her town in jeopardy. All their souls are now on the line, and the only way that she can fix it is by coming back to Earth in the form of someone else and killing enough demons and monsters to make up for all the souls that she has to save. Our lead heroine, she is just so awesome. Her name is Bane. This book is an absolute blast. It is fun, it is funny, it is gory, it is gutsy, it is horrific. It's great. I love it. I love the second one just as much. Can't wait to get further into it. Again, highly, highly recommend it. For a total change of pace, this is Jules Chasing Down the Dawn. And this is sort of a collection of writing from her from various points in her life. Very stream of conscious style writing, if you will. But I'm not going to talk a lot about this because it's not going to be for most people. I am a very big Jules fan. And so for me, this was an absolute delight, learning more about her, just getting into her mind because she's such an intelligent person. I enjoyed the heck out of this. It was 5 stars. Next up, another 4.5 star. This is Max Allan Collins with Mommy. This is another one that is a classic setup for horror fans about a little girl whose mom is very protective and very particular over her. And she is willing to do anything that it takes to make sure that her little girl is happy and healthy. And anyone who gets in her way is really, they're in for a bad time. Very classic horror setup here, very enjoyable. It's short, and yes, it is predictable to anyone that has been in the horror community for a while. This is actually the basis of a horror movie. Very enjoyable. 4.5 stars here. Okay, next 5-star read, and this is a complex one. This is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Now, Paige and I, my lovely wife, actually read this together. I am still hoping that one day we can sit down and talk about it together. We intend to read Mr. Turton's second book together as well and do the same thing, so I don't want to talk about it a lot here. I really can't anyway because it is such a complex book. I will tell you, if you are a murder mystery fan, if you're a fan of Agatha Christie, and you like piecing things together or trying to piece things together, then this is definitely a book for you. And hopefully I'll get to talk more about this one in the future with my lovely bride right here. Next up, another short and sweet one. This is Dog Meat by our own Priscilla Bates. And she is part of this community. She is not a booktuber, but you will very often see her in the comments. This one is not going to be for everyone. It is hard to read. The title kind of gives you a clue of what you're getting into, and it is not for the faint of heart. It's difficult to read in the same way that Tender is the Flesh was difficult to read, if that gives you an idea. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about this one because it is very short, but I ended up giving it 5 stars. It's hard, man. It's going to tear at you, but I think that more than anything is a sign that it is very well written in such a short span. So very well done. I look forward to more from this woman in the future, and I really apologize because I know that I messed up your last name there. I just don't know how to say it. Okay, no surprises on this one. This was a reread from me, but this is Stephen King with Eyes of the Dragon. This is a straight fantasy book from him, and this is sort of a precursor, if you will, to the Dark Tower series. It involves some Dark Tower characters, some very important Dark Tower characters, as well as some characters from The Stand. So, this one is enjoyable. It's almost very tongue-in-cheek throughout, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a very simple tale, but a really enjoyable one. And of course, it's 5 stars from me. And I love that King wrote something in the 80s. In the 2020s, he's writing something that still somehow ties in with it. Now, this is Louis Sekar with Small Steps. And the cover is actually way cooler. So, This is actually the follow-up to the book Holes. And a lot of people have read the book Holes. More people, I think, have probably watched the movie Holes. The majority of them, in any of those categories, do not realize that there was a second book that follows some of the characters from the original Holes. In particular, this follows Armpit and X-Ray, who, for most people, are kind of, fan favorites on their journey to scalp a bunch of concert tickets and sell them for massive amounts of money. And this, I think, was even better than Holes in ways. This was honestly just a delightful tale. It was 5 stars for me all the way. Absolutely loved it. I just wish, I wish that he would have kept writing about these characters, about the characters from Holes, because they were all so awesome. And if this is the way he follows a book up like that, I mean, wow. I feel like I'm rambling a little, but this is just a stellar read for adults, for young adults, for teens, whatever. If you're a fan of the movie, if you're a fan of those characters, if you're a fan of just a darn good book, then pick this one up, because it is well worth it. And finally, unfortunately, I ended the month on a pretty crummy book. This was Jonna Malcolm with The Slime That Ate Crestview. Now, there are some really good points to this book, but I'm not going to talk about it much, because this book is also just needlessly mean. And by that, I mean that there's a character in this book, just a neighbor to these kids, mind you. She has no speaking parts, but every time they talk about her, they talk about how disgusting and fat she is. And it's totally unnecessary to the book, but the author goes out of her way on several instances to make mention of this, and it just felt so wrong. Dude, it's unnecessary. Why do we need to be talking like this to kids? And this book came out in '92, so I feel like it's, sure, I guess it's a toss-up, you can say it's the times or whatever, but there's stuff in this book that it was not necessary for kids to hear or read about. I wanted to like it because there were some really good points, really good parts to it, but I can't recommend it. And ultimately, this is another book that is going in my unhaul piles. And that'll wrap it up for November. This is a long video, I know it is. I'm glad you got a little bit of Havoc in the background there, but I plan to come back with my other wrap-ups to catch up, as well as some tag videos, but that's it for now. As you can tell, I've got to get used to doing this again. Learn to speed things up again, but that's it. Thank you all. Stay safe. Have a great weekend or weekday or whatever it is that you're watching this. Drink great coffee. Cheers, everybody.